Good morning all and welcome to 2023 and the first session of the year. It's number 122 if you're keeping count of the Friday morning warm-ups or fum-whoops as we now call them. And we've got the usual little treasure trove of things to do today. We're going to be doing a little bit of clapping and the chromatic scale. And also the little exercise sheet which I sent round and a bit of strumming at the end. So let's just get started with a clapping pattern which we haven't done before. It's a nice easy one and you will recognise it. It's called the habanera. You might know it from probably from dancing the Congo. I think that's the rhythm used in the habanera. Well, let's clap it first and then it'll call to mind certain tunes and rhythms that you may recognise. So we're just going to look at habanera number 1. There is a second one which we'll do another time, but we're going to do the left-hand bar there. And we're just going to repeat that very simple 4-beat pattern. So it's going to not so complicated pattern, and which might mean you could probably more easily stamp your feet at the same time. So if you want to get your feet walking, and let's get the metronome going at a decent pace. How's that? Left, right, left, right. Okay, after 4, I'll count you in on the habanera. Just listen to me first if you're not sure of the pattern. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time. Ba, da, da, ba. Okay, I guess you recognise that rhythm, and you probably know one or two tunes that features in. Probably the most famous one, well-known one, is Bizet's Carmen. And in fact, even the melody is based on da 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 that tune. And it's a Cuban dance originally, based on an African rhythm, but generally found its way into music all across the world. So if you do have any good examples of when the habanera pops up, do let me know, and we'll mention it next time when we do habanera number 2. Okay, if you'd like to get hold of your instrument, and just for a minute we'll warm up just the instrument itself. Now the main focus of today is the triads in C major, concert C major, so let's just play that note C, concert C, D or A for the B flats and E flats, and just to get the instrument and your fingers and your lungs moving, warmed up a little bit. Try a harmony perhaps, or sing a harmony. La, da, major 3rd, la, 5th, la. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. It's got things moving a little bit. Oh right, we're going to do the chromatic scale now. So we're in, as I say, starting on concert C, and no different to the ones we were doing before Christmas. Just up the chromatic scale, up to the octave, and then straight down again. And we'll start at 80 beats per minute. Are you ready? Chromatic scale starting on concert C. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down. Oh, there we go. We'll do that again. And as I've often said, just go for think in your mind of a particular quality to the note you're trying to achieve, and then stick to that and aim for consistency. So with all notes, whether it's dynamics or whether it's legato, staccato, and so on. And here we go. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know there's a few guitarists out there, so if you are playing guitar or ukulele, see if you can just keep your fingers so that when they come off the string after you've played it, that they go no more than a couple of millimeters above the string. Because you can waste a lot of energy by pointing those fingers up in the air after every note, and see if you can keep them as close to the strings as possible. Let's do that a little bit faster. Same again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And having said that, my little finger doesn't obey me. It points up in the air like it does what it wants. Bit faster. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time, significantly faster. Are you ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we have it, the chromatic scale. Okay, let's move on to the exercise sheet, if you'd like to get that in front of you. And we're looking at triads. Before Christmas, we looked at the basic root position triad, which is, in other words, it's the 3-note chord starting on the root note of the scale. So if it's a C major triad, it will be C, then the 3rd E, and then the 5th G. So the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. And essentially what we're going to do for the next few minutes is look at the first inversion of the triads. So if you play all your triads in root position, you'll always have the root note of the chord, whether it's E minor or D major or C major, on the bottom. Now, to get the first inversion, what you do is you raise the lowest note, which will be that root note. You raise it an octave, so it goes on top. So then the 3rd, which was the 2nd note up, becomes the lowest note. So then it becomes, if it was C, E, G, you can play this now if you want, just concert C, E, G. Okay, so that's concert C, concert E, concert G. So that's a root position triad. Now if we move that low note to the octave up, okay, the E, concert E, becomes the lowest note. Then you've got the G, and you've got the root note now on top. And that's what's known as the first inversion of the triad. You've inverted it once. We'll look at the second inversion another time. But that's how you invert a chord, any particular chord. Take the lowest note, stick it up an octave, and then you've got a different so-called inversion. Just to remind you also, let's just look at the chords which are in a key. Somewhere I've got a chart. Oh, there we go. It's always worth getting to know the chords which are in or triads which are in a particular key, and I've just shown on the screen there for the key of C, or if you're a D or an A today, then look at your particular key. And if you look across, you'll see in order of the scale the relevant triad which sits on each of the positions. So if you're in the key of C major, the first note is C, of course, so the main triad is C major. I'll just put the word C there, but it's actually C major. And then the second chord will be D minor, the third E minor, the fourth F, G, A minor, and then B diminished is the seventh position. So it's good to get familiar with what chord is in what position of the scale, because these all crop up in the music that we play all the time. And if you happen to know all the chords in a particular key, you've got a better idea of understanding what key you're in, where that chord is likely to go next, and so on. So there is a pattern actually. If you go across from left to right, from the first chord to the seventh, it goes major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Just remember that diminished on the end. Doesn't get played as often. So there's a little something perhaps to memorize, but we're going to be playing those chords left to right in the exercise sheet, but of course now we're playing them in first inversion. So let's go back to the instrument sheet. First of all though, we just need to play the scale which these are derived from, and it's a little bit artificial, but I've actually started the scale on the third on that top line, just so that we encompass all the notes which are in the inversions, because now of course the triad, the third is the lowest note in our chord, in our first chord at least. So let's just play the first two bars. This is the concert C major scale, sort of 1.5 octaves really, because it's starting already on the third. So I'm just going to play the first two bars. Sorry, just set the metronome. First two bars, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's probably a way you haven't practiced a major scale before, starting on the third, finishing on the root. Let's do that again. After 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the first two bars. Let's play the second two bars now of that top line. So we're just playing the same thing, descending. So starting on the root, ending on the third. After 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's play the whole top line 3 times. After 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And Last time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. That's just to get the range of notes and the key into our ears and under our fingers and into our breath and so on. So let's now look at the 7 triads that we're talking about. When I say triad, I really just mean 3-note chords. So the word chord and triad is fairly interchangeable in this particular instance. Good. Right. Well, we're going to look at the first one first of all. And as I said earlier, if you started on a root note and played the major triad of the tonic, you get the root 3rd and 5th, but we've moved the root up an octave, so we now get, and that's that first box there where it says the first position tonic and then your key, C major chord, the tonic chord. So let's just play that. Okay, so we're just going to play the first bar on the second line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice and easy. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go through all of them in a minute. I just want to talk a little bit about this first one because there is a pattern going on here. As you probably know, when you're creating a normal root position triad, you're stacking what they call stacking 2/3. So from the root to the third is a from the root to the third is a third. Yes, it would be. From the third to the 5th is another third. In this case, it'll be a minor third. So it'll be a major third plus a minor third. But because you've inverted it, those intervals change. Now that minor third is still there from the 3rd to the 5th. But now you're going from the 5th to the octave. You've now got a 4th in there. So this isn't something you necessarily have to remember every time you play such a thing, but in a first inversion triad, it's a minor third plus a 4th for a major triad. And it will be something else for a minor triad. We'll see that in a second. So let's just play that one more time, just to get that first tonic major triad, first position in under our fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. One more thing, if you can recall the first thing I said. One more thing, if you want to recognise that, that's the opening melody to Bless 'Em All. Bless 'em all. So that's how you remember a major first inversion triad. Bless 'em all. The root position one, which we did last time, is Kumbaya. Kumbaya. So that's a little mnemonic there for recognising these. Right, let's move on, because we talk all day about these things. So we're moving on now to the second position, the supertonic, as it's called. And that's going to be a minor triad. So let's play that now. Sorry, guitarist, that 12 that's shown on the tab, that should be 5 on the next string. 7 on the next string up, not 12. It's a bit of a stretch going up to 12. So now you should hear this. Let's just play that second bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. So that's the sound of a minor triad in its first inversion. Can't give you a song that starts with, which starts on that. If you know one, let me know. And and the intervals here are major third followed by a fourth. Yes, we mustn't get too tied up with these intervals, because, you know, if this is the first time you've looked at inversions at all, that's not the first thing you need to understand. It's really just how these work. So, but that might be useful for some of you. So let's move on to the third one now. It's another minor triad, so it's going to sound similar to the last one, just a tone higher. Okay, so we're on the third one. Let's play that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So up another major fourth, third plus fourth. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Right, we're going to quickly go through the remainder because they're just variations on the last two. So we're on the fourth one now, the so-called subdominant. So this will be a major triad in first inversion. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're back to bless them all again because it's a major. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bless them all. On to the next line, and we've got another major triad here. Sorry, guitarist, again, that 12 should be on the next string. Should be 8 actually on the next string. Not sure how it got a 12 there. Oops. Where are we? So let's do the fifth now, the fifth dominant, first inversion. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's another bless them all type major. Sorry, just to reiterate, that should be the 8th fret of the B string, guitarist, that last note. 8th fret of the B string. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, there's a little guitar shape there as well. How many people play G major like that? And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to move on now to the sixth. This is now another minor triad in the first inversion. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. And then the seventh and final one. Sorry, not the final one. What am I talking about? This is the diminished one. Yes, sorry, mustn't forget the diminished one. I've done another 12th fret. I don't know why they keep coming up. That 12 guitarists should be 7 on the top string. Hopefully the rest of the examples haven't got this. Here we go. So we're on the diminished one now. It's going to sound a bit different. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sound of a diminished triad. 1, 2, 3, 4. In first inversion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're wading our way through these, but we'll do a little exercise that incorporates them all in a minute. And then finally, well, we're back to the octave now, so we're just going to play the octave first inversion major triad. And this will make a nice little guitar shape as well, because I think you'll all recognise this shape. So let's just play that 8th and final bar, the first tonic. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bless them all. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. Right. So they're all the chords in concert C major. all the triads. There aren't any others until you start talking about 7th and 9th and 13th, but they're all the basic triads that you'll ever have to learn in that key. So if you can commit them to memory, you're doing very well. Now the next 2 lines are literally going through those chords, but in a sequence. So we're just going to work our way through the next 2 lines where it says exercise, and this will just get you to play those triads. We'll use the metronome for this one, and here we go. We're just going to play those 2 lines, working our way up through the first inversion triads. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, not easy. I wouldn't say that's easy for anyone, but I might even slow it down a little bit. But it's certainly one to come back to and practice. A little bit slower then. Same again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's good. One more time, slightly faster. Same again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the minor, another minor, another major, another major, another minor, diminished, and finally the tonic. Okay, so they're kind of arpeggiating those chords. Guitarists, you can also work out little chord shapes for learning triads, and very useful. We tend to learn these big blocky chords, all 6 strings and so on, but they're not really that necessary. Learning 3-note triads instead is a very useful thing to do, and has a lot of uses, particularly in jazz music when you're playing 7th and 9th chords. You don't have to always play the root note. You can play a triad which gives you the 7th or the 9th. Anyway, that's a subject to explore separately. Let's look at the last 2 lines now. This is, we've used this example before, Pachelbel's Canon in D, although we're not necessarily in D. That's just the name of the tune. And one of the reasons why is because it uses a lot of the triads in the particular key. It's diatonic, in other words, it doesn't stray outside of the key, it doesn't have any chromatic notes. And it also uses, as I say, a lot of the triads. So it's a nice little melodic way of playing our way through most of those triads. The diminished one's not there, unfortunately, poor little thing. But so we're now going to play the next 2 lines in a similar fashion to our exercise, but following the chords of Pachelbel's Canon in D. And if you're not familiar with that tune, have a listen to it, and this will make a little bit more sense as well. So here we go, just playing the last 2 lines of the exercise sheet. And I've written there, for your understanding, the letter of the chord. So 1, if you look at the above the chord, above the bar, you've got 1, 5, 6 in Roman numerals, 3, 4, 1, 4, 5. So that's telling you which degree of the scale you're on for each chord. Here we go. After 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. just resolved it with a tonic at the end, but yeah, that vaguely sounds like it's come from that piece of music. Hopefully it does, if you're familiar with it. Let's do that again. So 1 1 2 1 2 3 4. Sorry, wrong one there. Sorry, I think on the fourth bar I was looking at the third bar, but let's do that again. So well, that was me that went wrong there, not you. One more time. 1. Let's do it twice round this time, so jump back to the beginning when you get to the end. Here we go. 1 2 3 4. Back to the beginning. And resolve it with the tonic. Just a final word, and this is particularly for guitarists, as I'm one as well, and you may be interested in this, and ukulele players and piano players, chord players in other words, that's another way of putting it, is that with the first inversion, you've now got the root note of that chord on the top. Now, this is something important to remember, because if you're trying to harmonize a tune, in other words, play it with a chord, so you've got the melody and the chord at the same time, and you happen to want the note of the chord as the melody note, then you would use the first inversion to achieve that, because it's got the melody note on top. A very crude example, if I was to say wanted to do God Save the King, and as it's called, that tune, and the first chord, well, it just happens that the melody note is the tonic of the chord. So I would play a first inversion to ensure that the melody note appeared on top and not buried in the middle somewhere. But anyway, guitarists and ukulele players and piano players probably know what I'm talking about, and that's something you can go and think about, which inversion to use when you are harmonizing a tune. Okay, time's rattling on, so we ought to move on to the final part of the session, which is when we play through the chords, and we will play through the same chords of Pachelbel's canon in D in our key, so transposed to our key. And you can try your triads out, or you can just improvise in the key if you like, or strum along. So I'm just going to strum through just for a minute those chords, and nice and gently. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3. So you can play those arpeggios we've just done. Bum, 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 Up to the 5 chord. Last time through, back to the 1 chord, the tonic, up to the dominant, to the 6 chord, now the 3 chord, and the 4, 1, 4 again, 5, finish on the 1, 1, 5, 6, 3, 4, 1, 4, 5. That's how you memorize a chord sequence. Okay, that's it. And it's going to be a nice day apparently today, and it's going to be horrible tomorrow. So today is probably the day to go out. My final bit of advice. You probably heard that on the radio this morning. Lovely to see you all.
And to you, David.
And
off we go for another year.
Thanks. Yes, off we go for another year. That's right. We won't do chord inversions next time. I'll let that. Give that a rest and let that sink in for a little while. Then we'll come back and later and